right, turning now.
Hopefully they'll do something to allow us to have that.
Let's hope so. Turning now to Detroit and the new Little Caesars Arena. Big ribbon cutting ceremony this week. The arena is officially open. The home of the Red Wings and the Pistons is just part of an over $800 million complex that will include retail, office buildings, and while the Ilitch project has been years in the making, there has been some nagging criticism surrounding taxpayer costs, the number of Detroit workers used during construction, and even the opening act taking the stage next week. But first, let's talk about really the milestone of having this arena open this week. And what people talk about is connecting regions from downtown now and kind of going into Midtown. Nolan, I guess your perception on how big this is to see an arena like this open up in Detroit.
If it comes to fruition, it's going to be huge for Detroit. It'll be the game changer everybody's been waiting for. A 50-block district, 25 blocks of which are already underway. I think it's going to change the way downtown looks, feels, operates. I think we're going to return to a true big city feel in Detroit, and the gaps in our downtown footprint will be filled in. I think it could be huge, and I think it could bring in significant revenues to the city and significant visitors and people. I think it's a big deal.
What about you, Stephen?
I mean, no one loves sports more than I do. I live.
You do want to have your own sports talk show someday, I think.
That's right. And I live downtown, so I love being able to walk and go see a ball game or a football game. And now I'll be able to go see the Pistons or the Red Wings right in the neighborhood. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there are significant problems with this deal. We've said that pretty consistently at the Free Press.
All right, so you're talking about what? The taxpayer fund, the public financing of this, which is about $324 million.
Yeah, in a city where you have people who can't buy school clothes for their kids or who can't keep food on the table. I mean, there's something quite garish about that.
And can you do than the Ilitches were committed to paying.
Can you do a project? Hang on. Can you do a project like this though without any?
You can, but we've become so accustomed to the idea that the public pays for part of these things that no one ever raises the question anymore to say, you have a lot of money. You pay a lot of money to a lot of people when you want to. If you want to build this arena, why can't you do it on your own? This has just become sort of the standard
way. It's become the norm,
way.
And nowhere in the country has the return met the promises, and that's one of the issues.
This is a lot of money.
This is an issue the Mackinac Center, a conservative think tank, has been all over. This is corporate welfare.
Right. This is not just a liberal complaint.
Because that arena was coming here, whether the city backed the bonds or not. And I don't know what what's the actual cost of the city, $25 million or in terms of the backing of these bonds. I mean, the contribution by the city is not $324 million. There's the servicing costs or whatever the city is paying. But whatever it is, it's the price they would pay a hockey center or a piston or a piston guard and who may or may not wash out.
Okay, and another complaint, and I'm going to turn to you on this, Stephen, is you wrote a pretty powerful column that ran in the Sunday's Free Press, taking aim at Kid Rock being the opening act. And I feel that this was actually a conversation that was percolating here on this show a couple of weeks ago. We started talking about this, and then you put pen to paper, and we have a little bit of your column here, and I know you have it in front of you. Why did you feel the need to write it?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's been bugging me since they announced it. I just thought it was an inappropriate choice. But what's happened in the interim and sort of in the balance has made it a more urgent concern in my mind. And I think at this time in this city, given what's going on in the rest of the country, picking somebody who has wrapped himself in the Confederate flag, even though he now says, well, I don't really think that, even though it shows up in a video that he released just like 6 months ago, I just think it sends a message to Detroiters that's not okay. There are considerable concerns in this city about who is the beneficiary of all of these things, these great things that we're doing in downtown Detroit. A lot of African Americans don't feel welcome. They don't feel like this is for them. Having Kid Rock christen a publicly subsidized, gigantic arena in the middle of downtown Detroit on the heels of Charlottesville, on the heels of what he said about Colin Kaepernick, I just think, as I said in the column, is erecting a pretty sturdy middle finger to Detroiters.
Now, Little Caesars Arena and the folks, they did respond to this and say, artists don't speak for exactly what we think. Nolan, do you believe that the statement that they put out was strong enough and that they should continue to do what they're going to do?
You know, I would disagree with Steve about Kid Rock. I respect his opinion and his feelings and his concern here. I don't see Kid Rock in that same light. I think when he at the time he wrapped himself in the Confederate flag, he was trying to build this image of a rebel and rebelliousness, and I'm outside sort of the establishment. I don't think he's a racist. I don't think he's a white supremacist, words that have been used against him. I think the big problem with that people have today with Kid Rock is he's a Donald Trump supporter. I saw him in 2 concerts, both at Republican conventions. I would never go to a third concert. Not because
too loud. Was it too loud?
No, not because too loud? No, it was too vulgar. I mean, not because of the. You know, I thought he implied any sort of racism. I never saw any of that. It was just the most vulgar 2-3 hours I ever spent in my life.
Crass,
you know, I didn't feel, crass is a good word, I didn't feel that level of crassness. You know, I like his music, but I would not go to a Kid Rock concert.
Well, you're going to see a demonstration.
I don't think it's a racist.
There's going to be a
demonstration next week.
You put it in the context of all these other things, right? The public subsidy, the falling short on the promises of Detroiters participating in this work. Not entirely the fault of the Ilitches, but again, something that doesn't come true. The promises that all of these projects would come up together, right? It wasn't just going to be an arena and the stuff in the arena. Yeah. They said we are simultaneously developing these other blocks. That's not. I mean, you drive through the Cass Quarter. It is not happening.
Well, the business school is going to go. I mean,
that's
It's going to be kind of the second phase to it.
But you know, you've got to. You can't truly fault the Ilitches. You know, they looked at Kid Rock and said, well, heck, if he was good enough for the NAACP, which just a couple of years ago gave him an award after the Confederate flag incident. Well, you know, he's good enough for us.
I think that's problematic too. But it's not.
But still, if you look at the Ilitches, they would have.
I think Chris Ilitch could very easily have said, you know what, this is not the message we want to send to Detroiters on the day that we open this arena. And I don't think it would have taken a whole lot of consciousness to arrive at that space.
I mean, they picked a guy who has been huge in Michigan, has been a good ambassador.
It makes them a lot of money, that's for sure.
Makes them a lot of money, and they're in business.
All right, and there's you and a bunch of concerts next week, and we'll open up. Hey, I wanted to. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately.
I'm going to be there in the front row.
You know, Stephen will be there. But hey, we want to talk about absenteeism. We kind of ran out of time a little bit. I know the kids are back in school this week. In terms of Michigan, new report out: 660 schools in the state, about 19%, and at least 30% of the students are chronically absent. So we're going to talk about that in a little initiative that you're going to be doing at the Detroit News, taking a look at saying, hey, give us your solutions for education in Michigan, and we're going to go forward on that. So, all right, we'll talk about that next week. Good to see you guys. And that's going to do it for MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at MiWeek, also at MiWeek.org for any of the shows you might have missed. I'm Christy McDonald. Come back and see us next Thursday for MiWeek. Promise, we'll talk education.